Good evening and welcome to INQ&A. The Inquirer question and answer program comes to you every Tuesday. Every week we sit down with a leading newsmaker and we discuss the issues of the day. And tonight we have indeed a very special guest. We are, of course, on Radio Inquirer 990. We are live on Facebook. We are also live on the Inquirer news channel on YouTube as well as on INQUIRER.net. We are carried on the Inquirer social media and chat app platforms on Twitter, on Viber, on Kakao, online. And last but not least, we are also on Inquirer 990 Digital TV. My name is John Neri. I'm Editor-in-Chief of INQUIRER.net, and with me is our co-host, Christine Sabilio, Chief of Reporters of INQUIRER.net.
Our viewers from different platforms. So I'm sure everyone is excited for a special guest tonight. I have just 3 things that we would like you to know about him. The first one would be that he drives himself. In fact, he drove on the way here. He was so early. We didn't expect him to be that early, an hour before this interview. The number 2 is that he was the composer of Magkaisa, which is it's like the anthem of the People Power Revolution. And the third is that he's the most senior senator. In fact, he was the only one who served during the 1992 Senate. So, ladies and gentlemen, Senator Tito Sotto.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for this invitation, John and Christine. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to experience the Radio Inquirer experience.
Thank you, Senate Majority Leader Tito Sotto.
Apo.
We have an hour. We have a lot of questions. Pwede nating simulan na.
Sure, fire away.
This morning,
I'll answer to the best of my capability.
salamat po. This morning, you were in a meeting with the Senate delegation led by Senate President Coco Pimentel. You met with the congressional delegation led by Speaker Alvarez to speak about the arrangements for the Constituent Assembly. Ano pong nangyari kanina?
Well, to be very accurate about it, the meeting really was more of a fellowship and a way of opening lines of communication between the House and the Senate. We discussed the possibility of a mini LEDAC if the main LEDAC will not be called, so that we may facilitate priority bills or the legislative agenda of the present administration. So more or less that was the idea. That's why we had to break bread with each other.
So hindi lang tungkol sa
Hindi pa. Hindi talaga. Pero we browsed through it. Sabi nga, napag-usapan yung possibility of either a CONCON or a CONAS, and anong sa tingin namin ng timetable, and what are the possibilities, whether the Senate will agree to this or to that, like the issue of voting separately or not. But nothing was really technical. Nothing was really no commitments, in other words, from both groups. Just opening up on the ideas. And then the emergency powers that the president or the administration is asking for, we also discussed the possibility of having it or passing it as soon as possible.
Senator, before we get to the charter change, for the mini LEDAC, what were the priority bills that you discussed with the congressmen?
The budget. That was the main bill that was really discussed. The possibility of either a CONCON or a CONAS will be discussed after the budget. That was an agreement, more or less. If there was an agreement, that was the only agreement that we reached. So perhaps as far as the House of Representatives is concerned, that will be October, the first week of October. They might be able to pass the budget already, so they may start working on the CONCON or CONAS issue. Now, the Senate, we will be passing the budget by December. So, the earliest possible that we may look into this other priority, if it is indeed a priority, would be January.
Senator, I think you said in previous interviews that you wanted CONCON, but you were amenable to CONAS if the two houses would vote separately, and that is, it's like you're leaning towards that. The whole body is leaning towards
I
that.
think a good number of the members of the Senate would be leaning towards CONAS if we will be voting separately, because there will be enough checks and balances that would be necessary. And the voting jointly would be like the House of Representatives eating up the Senate.
Overwhelming.
Yeah,
overwhelming
with
the Senate.
numbers.
So, and then earlier also, Congressman or Majority Leader Rudy Fariñas was showing us a study made with the Constitution, the present Constitution, referring to the Congress, on whether there were 4 instances that voting separately is mentioned, and only one instance sa voting jointly, and the voting jointly is about martial law. So really there is a tendency that the voting separately would be the possibility, and it's only today that I realized I didn't really browse through that particular portion of the Constitution. That's why, so it's only today that I saw that in Article 17 of the Constitution, the first form is CONAS, Constituent Assembly. The second form is the Constitutional Convention. And so we didn't really delve into it. We just pointed it out. Well, actually, it was Rudy Fariñas who started pointing it out, and we concurred to some of these perspectives.
So, Senator, kung tama yung rin ko, the earliest you can actually start working on the Constituent Assembly would be December.
That would be really, that would be very tough to do. We might be very busy with the budget. It's possible, but it's very difficult. The possibility would be January.
Talaga. Parang, if I understand correctly, si Speaker Alvarez is looking for something this year, for something to happen this year.
Yes, as far as the HOR is concerned, I think so. I think they may be able to do that. As I said, I think their timetable is to approve the GAA by September 30.
Okay. Wow, okay.
September 30. So, magpiprinting pa yon, and then they will approve it on third reading before they will be able to transmit it to us. And then there will be a break because of the IPU, the Interparliamentary Union, International Parliamentary Union. That will be between October 20, I think, 22 to about November 6. So by the time that the Senate comes back, yun na, tanggap na namin probably yung GAA, then it's only that time that we will be able to take it up in plenary. Although before that, we'll be doing hearings already. But plenary in November, approve it by December, go into BICAM by the middle of December. I really think it'll be very difficult for the Senate to work on a resolution on the CONCON or CONAS by December. So by the House, after September 30, pwede na. Oo, especially when they come back in November 6.
That's interesting. So the earliest actually we're looking at is early next year na magkaroon ng if you convene yourselves as a Constituent Assembly.
Yes. Earliest would be
the earliest
first
would
quarter
be
of next year.
Senator, did you discuss any of the provisions from the Constitution that you would like to amend?
No, we didn't really. It was just, parang dinadaanan lang yung kwento eh. Because if ever, there was a mention about President Duterte favoring the 1973 Constitution. A unicameral yun, parliamentary, presidential. but without amendment number 6.
Yes. Mahirap na.
So yun ang mga pinag-uusapan, and if ever it becomes a constituent assembly, as ika nga na hihiligan ng iba, that will be a good skeleton to start with.
Okay.
Mas mabilis kung siguro ganun. But then again, I'm talking off my hat. I'm just saying this because I overheard some of us mentioning it earlier.
Senator, maybe actually dahil pa natin ibang saan pag-usapan, no? But maybe one more question, one last question about the Constituent Assembly issue. So kung the earliest is January, dahil marami pa kayong gagawin, yung may criticism kasi na baka hindi dapat Constituent Assembly kasi ang dami nyo nang ginagawa. Kaya nyo ba to actually be two bodies in one? During the day, perhaps you're working on legislation, and maybe at night you are working on the Constitution. Kaya ba ng Senate and House of Representatives?
The answer to that would be, we can give the answer to that perhaps after we discuss the calendar among ourselves. Sa ngayon, madaling sabihin na, hindi, pwede kami ng Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday yung Senate.
Okay.
Di ba? Madaling sabihin yun. But perhaps if we sit down already and discuss the calendar, then we'll be able to answer that.
Okay.
Now, the thing about the CONCON, that will really take long. First, you have to
pass a law.
Pass a law calling for it. There must be a budget for it. And then, pag na-approve ito, mag-i-election. After elections, then hahanap mo ng mga opisina yung mga nahalal, bibigyan mo ng staff lahat yan, bibigyan mo ng sweldo lahat yung mga staff nila para mag-dinoble yung buong Congress.
Okay.
So, matagal yan. And they have a life of their own. We cannot give them, say, a timetable na, in 1 year, tapusin nyo yan. We can't do that. So, that is some of the cons on a con. And earlier also, you should guest or invite Rudy Pariñas. Earlier, he had a very compelling argument on why it should be a constituent assembly. Parang mabigat yung I'd rather not you hear it from me. I'd rather that you hear it from him. So you should invite him one of these days.
We will do that. So sabihin namin, sinabi ni Senate Majority Leader, dapat mag-guest.
Na yung House Majority Leader.
Mag-guest dito. Senator, speaking of the calendar, you are responsible for this because you are the Senate Majority Leader. This is your second time as Senate Majority Leader. Can you tell us...
Actually, the third time.
Third time, sorry. How did you... I remember on July 25, the new Senate President, Coco Pimentel, gave a speech and specifically mentioned 3 senators. Nagpasalamat siya, Senator Frank Drilon, Senator Loren Legarda, and last but not least, Senator Tito Sotto. Ang pag-intindi ko doon, ng marami, you helped him form the new majority. Paano ba nangyari yun?
After elections, there was a group, an old group, a senior group of ours that met. Si Loren, si Ping Lacson, si Grego Nasan, and myself.
Okay.
We started talking about what we want to happen in the Duterte administration and in the 17th Congress, and we discussed the budget reform agenda of Senator Lacson.
Okay.
Ping has this BRAVE, B-R-A-V-E. It's a budget reform advocacy that I think would be very good for the country. So, napagkasundoan namin na let's work on a leadership in the Senate that would push for a budget reform advocacy. Para wala na yung problema sa PDAP na yan, mga DAP na yan, and bring the money down direct to the people. Yung mga ganong programa.
Okay.
So, LGUs directly para hindi na nanghihingi sa mga senador at congressman. with that, we started talking to the other members of the Senate. Lalo
Okay.
na yung mga kaibigan namin, Grace Po, Cheese Escudero, ganon. So, we had a group of 9. We had a
Okay.
group of 9.
Already.
Yes, oo. And we said, let's see who would make a good Senate President to pursue this budget reform agenda. So we started talking to the rest, no? Of course, some of the members of my group were, I don't know, medyo nasilaw na konti siguro. Wanted me to be Senate President. I was not too keen about it, but given my experience, siguro naisip nila because I was the most senior. So, sige, bahala na, tingnan natin, pag-usapan natin. Started talking to Alan Cayetano because he was close to the new president.
So si Senator Alan muna.
Senator Alan muna, he was close to the new president. So we started talking, ano ba tingin nyo? Ano ba ang programa ni President Duterte? Yung ganon. And nung nag-uusap kami, okay naman. Generally, ayos naman. Except that hindi kami masyadong nagkasundo nila Alan when I was talking to him and Senator Lacson. Because there were 2 or 3 items on the table na hindi namin maintindihan eh. They wanted, he said that the Davao group wanted the finance to go to somebody, then agriculture to go to somebody, and justice. To somebody, or avoid somebody for justice or something like that. Ano? So sabi namin, sige, we'll talk to our group. No? Kasi yung dalawa lang naman kami nakikipag-usap o 3. We went back to the group. Parang ang feeling is, bakit meron kagad do's and don'ts? Usap muna tayo sa iba. And we talked to Coco Pimentel. Because Coco is the president, or is this, yes, the president of the political party of the president. So, when we talk to Coco, parang ako naman kasi huli ko yung ugali kay Coco dahil matagal kami magkasama ni Nene eh. So, yung bunga ng mangga, siguradong mangga rin. Wala siyang do's and don'ts. And he believes in the budget reform program. So, maganda. Sabi nga namin, and then, so we one of us said, you bring in 4. Bring in 4.
Ay, 13 na kayo.
Including yourself. Sabi niya, ano na tayo? 13 tayo. Sabi niya, and we can get the Senate presidency. Then we can move for this budget reform.
So if you had 9,
We had 9.
kasama ba sa 9 may mga LP members? Wala pa.
Wala.
So,
The 9,
sa kanyan.
the 9 was Loren, Sotto, Honasan,
Ping.
Lacson, Grace, Sherwin Gatchalian, Cheese Escudero, Manny Pacquiao, and Nancy Binay.
Okay.
Magkakaduktong yun eh because Nancy and Manny and Greg are una.
That's right.
Soto, Legarda, and Gatchalian are NPC. And then the independents.
Yeah.
Ping Lacson.
Did you reach out to the liberals? Like sina Frank Tiran?
After that, then Coco started talking to Frank, and Frank was reaching out to us also. So medyo mas madali yung naging usapan, hindi naman nagiging problema. So we made Coco do the talking. Parang ganun eh. So instead, sabi nga ni Coco sa amin, I'm not bringing in 4, I'm bringing in 8.
So naging super majority.
So your groups was the deciding factor in the race for the Senate President?
Yes, as a matter of fact, nung una nga nag-uusap pa kami, nagtatalo pa kami nila Frank tsaka nila Coco kung sino mag-SP because Frank and some other members of our group will join us if I am Senate President. But all of us, most of us in the group naman, agreed that it should be Coco because he is the mas hindi magmumukhang opposition ng Senate. Ayaw namin magmukhang opposition pero ayaw din namin maging rubber stamp. So, magandang timpla yun. Magandang timpla yun. Ang tingin namin, magandang timpla with Coco as Senate President.
So, meron nga ngayon, yung mga allies ng presidente, they are against the libingan ng mga bayani rights for the former president, Marcos, ganun, no?
Ayan na nga, medyo
May
ganun
mga-
talaga.
may mga
eh.
ganun.
You cannot please everybody. So, everybody has their own thinking about certain issues. So, yun ang, one thing that is necessary in the Senate, you must master the art of compromise.
Hindi
Yun-
talaga
so,
pwedeng...
ganun talaga eh. So, maaaring hindi kayo magkasundo sa isang issue, pero sa isang issue magkasundo kayo, then let's work on it. So, as long as it's good for the Senate, it's good for the country, go.
If I'm not mistaken, meron ding isang grupo, no? Sina Richard Gordon, sina
Migs.
Zubiri.
Hmm.
They were also trying to form, if not
Yeah,
majority,
together
but
with Alan. Together with Alan.
Together with
they
Alan.
were in a group. No?
Were they ever close to getting a majority of 13?
Well, I didn't think so unless they would be talking also with a group of Frank. But between those two groups, ang tingin namin, opinion lang namin to, no? We could be wrong. Hindi magkakasundo eh. Mas mabigat yung bangga doon. We would provide the neutrality. Yung group namin would provide the neutrality.
But in the nomination of the new Senate President, was that carefully chosen, your role as nominator, and then si Mig Zubiri as the second nominator?
Yeah, Coco and I talked about it. It would be good, we said, because yun nga, some of our members wanted me as SP. So it would be nice for me to endorse our new Senate President. I believed in his capabilities.
Senator, how different is this Senate's majority from the previous one? And how would you say your role as a majority leader different from the previous Senate as well?
That is really a tough question. You know, kasi iba-iba timpla ng mga senador eh. That's why they always say that we are 24 different republics eh. When I was majority leader during the time of ERAP, and that was short-lived, Nene Pimentel was Senate President. I was majority leader. Although short-lived, hirap kami nun. We were treading on thin grounds. Ganun eh. Kasi konti lang kami. We were 12.
So always
13,
in danger.
12. Oo, 13, 12, ganyan. Nagte-12 kami dahil yung meron kaming isang pabalik-balik eh. So, mahirap, ang hirap. Kaya nga we lost the Senate presidency later on. During my time naman as majority floor leader in the 15th Congress with Senator Enrile as Senate President, the first 2 years was really easy. It was during the last year that we had difficulties because there were 2 or 3 members of the Senate that were against Senator Enrile. So I really had to, as I said, master the art of compromise and be able to still produce the agenda, produce the legislative output of the Senate, and as much as possible work with the House of Representatives sapagkat marami mga local bills na umaakyat sa amin, so kailangan na din yun. Today, as I said, it's very difficult to answer your question now because we're barely a month or two. No? So what I just noticed in this Congress now is I will not have difficulty with the quorum. Nung mga nakaraan, medyo bitin lagi yung quorum na. Meron kami 13 or most of the time during roll call, 14, 15 during roll call. And then mababawasan yun.
Wala.
Habang
During the
nag-uusap na, habang nagde-deliberations na, pag may salbahe at tinawag ng quorum, siguradong wala kaming quorum. But I was able to work on that as majority leader. This time, I noticed that from the day we started up to now, pinakamababa namin 21.
Bakit kaya?
During roll call. Ewan kung masipag lahat ito.
How many new senators do you have? 6 yata? Tama ba?
5.
5 fresh. Is that
yeah.
part of the reason? Parang
5 fledgling senators. Siguro, malaking bagay yung 5 eh. So, and then the comebacking. Yung mga return of the comeback.
That's true.
So, yung, masisipag yan. Sisipag yan eh. And then, ilan sa amin ng re-election is na...
Tsaka mukhang mabibigat din talaga yung mga usapin ngayon eh. death penalty, extrajudicial killings,
Ang hirap ng timpla ng
South
lady.
China Sea.
Oo.
I mean, hindi
Yes.
lang basta-basta, di ba?
Whatever we decide on in the next few months would have a very important what do you call this, impact on the country. Kaya mabuti na rin yung ganyan na lagi kaming almost 23, 24. There was a time na 24 present.
Except for July 25, medyo absent si Senator Alan Peter during the election. Senator, the reason why we asked you about the Senate dynamics, no? So, first of all, talagang interesting paano nangyari paano nabuo yung bagong majority. Pero I think mas interesting para sa mga nakikinig, sa mga nanonood, how will the new dynamics impact on the issues that you're tackling? So maybe let's start with death penalty bill. Sa tingin mo, paano kaya ang timpla nito, yung the factors that are in play pagdating dun sa death penalty bill?
The death penalty bill or bills, if there are two or three, were referred to the Committee on Justice
And Human Rights.
and secondarily to the Committee on Public Order, Public Order.
Okay.
So, if the chairman of Justice, Senator De Lima, and other members are against it, we may have the second committee, the secondary committee, come up with a committee report that is favorable for the bill. So, it's just a matter of using or making use of the parliamentary rules, parliamentary procedures, and the rules of the Senate. And we can still come up with, I think, the necessary legislation.
Can you say now na there is a majority of senators favoring it or against it, or it's too early? Or
No, I have not tried to find out. Wala akong wala. I can sense about 3 or 4 na are against. Then I could also sense that there are about 4 or 5 that are in favor.
Okay.
The rest, hindi ko pa matimpla.
Hindi mo ba,
It will probably it'll boil down to the debates. Baka ganun. At saka kung anong klase. Like for example, kung ang death penalty only for high-level drug trafficking, like my bill, I think
Diba?
we will get a majority.
Okay.
But if we include other crimes, baka medyo mahirapan tayo ng konti.
So, depende talaga.
Oo, depende. Bagay,
Yung grupo nyo na 9, Senator, how would you classify your group? Do you have only one stance or
Hindi.
wala? Iba-iba?
Hindi ba? Iba-iba na. Kasi yung 9 namin na break up na rin eh. Cheese went to the minority.
Oo nga.
Ganun yung niya. Ganun ang pananaw niya eh. So yung 8 namin, Manny has sworn to PDP Laban. He's now a PDP Laban member. So, pero Manny is in favor of the death penalty. He has a bill pending. Siguro majority sa amin.
Okay.
Wait, I have to be very candid, John, Christine. I was the principal author of the reimposition of the death penalty for drug trafficking in the 9th Congress. All right? Somewhere along the way, 2 or 3 years ago, I think I lost it. I think I was favoring more on not reimposing the death penalty. Meron ako mga nakita mga crimes na mga or mga nakulong na mga talagang inosente medyo. So ako nakakatakot. And then also I noticed that nakita ko rin sa mga research ko na pagka gusto mo talagang pahirapan, ikulong mo na masama. Ikulong mo ng hirap na hirap. Di ba? Imbis na pag pinatay mo, wala na, tapos na eh. But then again, medyo nag-iiba eh. So, if you ask me now if I'm in favor of the death penalty or not, I filed the bill so that we can discuss it. I still have to make up my mind.
That's
Sen-
right
interesting.
now. Oh.
Senator, that's very interesting topic na. And I think we would return to that after commercial break.
Mhm.
Again, we would like to thank all of the people who are watching right now. INQ&A with Senator Majority Leader Tito Sotto would be back after a few commercials.
Hey Manila, this September, WWE Live is heading your way with two must-see main events. It's the Powerhouse versus the Architect when Roman Reigns goes one-on-one against Seth Rollins. Plus, Chris Jericho collides with Finn Balor. Don't miss your chance to see all your favorite superstars, including the one and only John Cena, when WWE Live heads to Manila on September 9th. Tickets available. For more information, log on to WWE.com. Talent subject to change.
Tatanungin ko ang lahat ng nararapat itanong.
Tatanungin ko sina Manong at Mana.
Friends,
office mates,
Si Obama,
at ang barangay tanod.
Tatanungin ko ang mga taong dapat tanungin para sa mga bagay na dapat ipaliwanag.
Para sa bansang kailangan magtanong.
para sa kinabukasan ng ating bayan.
Sorry, let me repeat that. No, welcome back to INQ&A. Our guest tonight is Senate Majority Leader Tito Sotto. Ang ganda ng napag-usapan namin during the break. Maybe we can ask the senator to talk about yung bill niya tungkol dun sa for high-level drug trafficking. But before that, may mga tanong na tayo ba pwede nating matanong muna?
Okay. Siguro, unahin natin yung medyo related din doon. We have a question from Iza Tambuyok from Facebook. Sabi niya, you've been in the Committee of the Anti-Illegal Drugs in the Senate for several years, but nothing happened. It was not able. The government was not able to eliminate it. What can you say about Duterte's campaign against illegal drugs and proposed death penalty? Maybe later for the death penalty.
Unfortunately for us kasi, in my last 6 years in the Senate, I have been delivering probably 2 or 3 privileged speeches about illegal drugs every year, and the probably the point that she would want to raise is that I would like to clarify for her is that executive department na problema yun eh. They executed it. We gave them the laws. We gave them Republic Act 9165, the Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, and it's complete. From it even includes a section wherein Section 92 says that bungling and delay of cases, the prosecutor should be charged, the judges should be charged. Not a single one in the last 6 years. So I hope they do not blame Congress or the Senate or my committee or my membership in the Committee on Dangerous Drugs for the problem in the last 6 years, because it was not up to us. We gave them the ammunition. We gave them the wherewithal to do it. But what is happening now is very good for the fight against illegal drugs. But I've mentioned this to the president also, and I think they're doing it now. It is not all enforcement and it's not all prosecution. There are 4 ways of handling this social malady, which is it's a complex crime. It's the only crime wherein the criminal is a victim and the victim is a criminal. Ibang klase ito. Ang rapist, alam mo kung sino yung nag-rape. Murderer. Robber, yung ninakawan. Pero ang tumitira ng illegal drugs, you're committing a crime when you're using illegal drugs, but you're a victim. So ibang approach nito eh. So that therefore, if enforcement is doing well, and we should do well now, unlike what's happened in the past, prosecution should be also maintained. Or what happened in the last 6 years? 74% of drug cases dismissed. This is an accurate figure coming from the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. So what
Bakit?
happens sa prosecution?
Poor evidence, poor casework.
Whatever. Tinatanong ko kung merong bang napaila ng kaso on Section 92, which is bungling and delay of cases. Wala. There was a circular order from the time of President GMA saying that all drug cases that are dismissed should be automatically reviewed by the Office of the President. Pagdating noong 2011, 2012, there was a circular from DOJ removing it. Eh talagang hindi magiging successful ang prosecution nila. And so therefore, after these two concerns of enforcement and prosecution, we must have prevention. We must have a preventive education program in all the schools. Dapat yung mga grade 6, grade 7, they must already be prevented from being curious and using
And trying.
and trying. If we do that, we'll be successful. And then those who are already lulong na, rehabilitation.
Okay.
Rehabilitation program. So otherwise, kahit maubos ang droga, maubos ang mga pusher, patayin natin lahat yan. Pag may addict, hahanap yan ng abusuhin. Eh ang daming pwedeng abusuhin na hindi dangerous drug. No, na hindi illegal drugs, pero dangerous drugs like mga cough syrup,
That's
mga
right.
Novain, mga rugby, kung ano-ano eh. No? So, it's not our fault. Bottom line is what she's saying. My answer, it's not our fault.
Okay.
We did our part.
Thank you. We have another question.
Senator, yung second question natin medyo lalayo tayo pero magandang tanungin kasi baka hindi na natin ma-discuss. From Marvin Adolfo Vergonia from Facebook. Yung West Philippine Sea po, nanalo tayo sa permanent arbitration at pabor po sa Pilipinas ang UNCLOS. Paano natin mapapaalis ang China sa Scarborough Shoal at yung mga mangingisda po, wala silang kabuhayan? Ano pong alternatibong solusyon para sa mangingisda natin? And I guess, what can the Senate do to address this and to help out?
Sa akin kasi, the Senate would be pampalakas lang ng loob of moral support for the executive. We can give them the what they would need if ever they would need anything. Pero ang tingin ko, mahihirapan tayong basta paalisin ng kahit sino doon because of our capabilities. So the best talagang approach is diplomatic. Diplomatic pa rin. Huwag nating isipin na basta kalaban talaga totally ang China pagka ganyan because they're closer to us eh. Mas tutuusin nga medyo marami tayong lahi na Chinese eh. So baka madaan ito sa madaan sa diplomasya to. At wag tayong maganda yung strategy ng gobyerno ngayon na wag inating iyabang na nanalo tayo sa tribunal at dapat lumayas kayo dyan. Madaling magsalita ng ganun pero paano natin gagawin yon? And then also perhaps there could be programs from the Bureau of Fisheries or the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Environment, to be able to help the fisher folk who are in the area where on the West Philippine Sea mismo.
Okay, we'll have time to ask more questions from our friends on social media. Mabalik tayo dun sa sa Senate dynamics, very interesting talaga tong 17th the Senate of the 17th Congress. Tomorrow, Senator Grace Poe will start her committee hearings on emergency powers for the president as far as traffic the traffic problem is concerned. What can we expect from here, Senator?
Well, perhaps we will be able to find out tomorrow yung ano ang programa ng Executive Department or ng DOTC on how they want to handle this. Maraming kwento pero wala pang concrete. Wala pa kami nakikitang concrete on how they will be able to handle this. So perhaps tomorrow, magkakalinawan yan. Meron kami mga suggestions of on our own perhaps they can consider it, or baka man they are already considering it and may
So,
include that.
you're looking for specifics.
Oo.
Pero
Oo.
ang sense mo of the Senate, senators are willing to give the president emergency powers?
Oo, I think so.
Walang
Majority of the members, I'm sure, would be
So specifics na lang.
Yeah, specifics lang kasi baka medyo merong overboard.
Okay. Tapos next Wednesday naman, Senator Laila De Lima naman will start her committee hearings on extrajudicial killings. Again, ano pong sense of the Senate that you have?
Well, I can probably give you my sense na lang. Kasi
Okay.
I cannot speak for the others as far as that issue is concerned. Ang tingin ko, may kahirapan. Because how many extrajudicial killings happen? 200, 300?
Mga
500 plus kasama yung sa pulis dun eh. Na inasabi naman ng pulis na may mga dahilan kung ba't nangyari.
so kung
Pero
vigilante,
mga
mga
vigilante
200.
killings, mga 200 something, you know. So, madali mag-imbestiga sa Senado, ganyan, pag meron kang specific na kaso na pinag-uusapan. Pero pag 200 plus, anong sasabihin sa amin ng pulis? Iniimbestigahan pa namin, sasabihin nila, alin dito sa mga kasong to. Medyo may kahirapan eh. If you understand what what I'm driving at. So my sense really was baka premature tayo. We must probably allow muna na Polcom, the NBI, the not only the PNP but perhaps ISAP, or the DOJ,
NBI.
yeah, NBI to investigate, and find out what's happening here, who are responsible, so that they can have something to report to us.
But so you're not saying naman that you don't want the committee hearing to push through.
No, we can go on with that committee.
It's possible that they have one hearing and then take wait for
perhaps
the
yes. That would
Yan ang
siguro
isa.
sa akin ganun ang sinasabi ko kasi medyo I don't know what we will be pinpointing.
Pero di ba nakakabahala din talaga na okay, sabihin na natin there are 200 vigilante killings in 1 month. Medyo
nakakabahala yun, especially kung may masisingit doon na hindi talaga
Innocent,
involved sa
yeah.
drug trafficking.
Oo.
Kasi karamihan sa mga kababayan natin pagka involved sa drug trafficking they are looking the other way. Di ba? Ganun na nangyayari.
Oo nga.
As a matter of fact, nung minsan meron kasi nagsabi, naku, kawawa naman yung di ba may picture ng isang araw sa dyaryo nyo, about gano'n, so maraming naaawa. Pero may kwento maraming kwento, hindi lang may kwento, maraming kwento. Bigyan kita example, like sa Barangay Tatalon, meron nung isang pusher addict, na siga-siga dun eh. Walang gumagalaw dun. Lahat ng kapitbahay nun takot sa kanya eh.
Okay.
Nung sinisita yung sinusumbong ng mga ibang tao doon sa mga barangay yun, at saka doon sa magulang niya, pati magulang niya takot sa kanya eh. At saka galit pa yung magulang eh. Dahil bakit daw? Ba't di nyo ganon? Takot sila dahil maaaring gawin ng addict. Nung isang araw, napatay yung addict. Aba, ang nagwawala yung magulang. Kawawa daw yung anak nila. Yung mga kapitbahay nakangangay. Ang sabi ng mga kapitbahay, hindi kami kawawa nung inaapi kami niyan. Yun see, kailangan talaga hanapin natin ang balanse rito eh. Oo, hindi natin gusto yung extrajudicial killings, pero karamihan sa mga kababayan natin nakikita na yung tunay na mga drug pusher na namimirwisyo ng at pagka sila'y lalaban sa pulis at napatay, talagang ganon.
Siguro dapat lang pagtuunan ng pansin yung inosente. No?
Well, at
Kung
least
may nasangkot, halimbawa yung honor student sa Dagupan nasama lang dun sa...
yung kaibigan lang
tama.
na nakasama.
Yun ang kailangan.
And then the other day, meron sila sinasabi, yung professor ata sa Ateneo yun. Pero meron namang report na sinasabi, robbery daw yun, hindi raw tungkol sa drug.
Wala pang
Kaya nga, so hindi natin... Perhaps yun, kung ganon, magse-center yung hearing sa mga ganon, specific cases, may mapupuntahan.
Okay,
diba?
okay.
Pero kung in general lang, basta ganon extrajudicial killings lang, ang hirap ng pupuntahan niya. You will be involved in a debate because ang debate dyan would be human rights. When you debate against human rights, mahirap yan. Kasi when does human rights end? Does it ever end? 'Di ba? Merong mga thinking na pag ikaw marami kang pinatay at heinous criminal ka, you have lost your human right.
You've lost your civil rights, political rights, pero yung human rights,
Siguro.
Senator-
But, pag kasi ikaw yung kamag-anak ng
Pero naintindihan ko yung punto mo bago magtatanong si Tainan. Naintindihan ko yung punto niyo, Senator, na mas maigi nga siguro kung
To focus on certain
focus on like one or two
cases.
Yeah.
na talagang magtataka ka bakit nangyari yun, ano ba yung rules of engagement, yung mga ganun. Very specific. Maganda nga sigurong suggestion for Senator De Lima.
Senator, would you agree with the critics who say that a Senate investigation would undermine the president's campaign against illegal drugs?
It depends on how the investigation is or the inquiry is handled. And then ang mga kababayan natin at saka kami naman sa Senado will be able to sift through the rubble kung ito ay political lang o kung ito ay talagang may pupuntahan. Siguro naman we'll be able to trash it out.
Senator, I remembered you interpellated Senator Pacquiao the other day. You were talking about yung death penalty ulit. I thought at first na, actually the other people were saying na you just asked just to ask those questions. But you were saying kanina nga there was a shift in your own preference for death penalty or specific
Medyo
Parang nag-iisip.
Oo, nasa neutral ako ngayon eh. Nasa neutral ako eh. Sometimes I'm convinced na dapat. Sometimes I'm not. But if we're specific about high-level drug trafficking only, then I most probably will be in favor. Kasi doon, maliwanag ang guilty. Ang isang high-level drug lord, maliwanag na guilty. There's no such thing as a innocenteng high-level drug lord. O a high-level, ang innocent murderer, meron. Ang innocent rapist, meron. Maaari, di ba? Possibility. Pero yung makukonvict ka dahil ikaw ay high-level drug lord, imposibleng hindi totoo. No such thing as, ibang klase yun eh.
At saka yung sinasabi niyo na kahit na nasa preso na sila,
kaya dapat inhibit na sila eh. Kaya yung word na deter sa akin, yung second meaning na deter. Deter kasi is to inhibit. So, you inhibit him from committing the same crime again. Ngayon, doon sa kay Manny Pacquiao, ang totoo po nun, the reason I stood up to interpellate Manny, because I was glad that here is a new senator.
a young senator.
A young senator. He stands up, delivers a privileged speech, and is ready for interpellation. Kasi sa amin, hindi namin type yung ayaw pa interpellate. Kasi lalo na ako, I have the record in the Senate. The only senator who was interpellated by 22 senators in my maiden privilege speech in 1992.
I wanted to ask about that, Senator Sotto. Yung 1992, no? In fact, the topic of your privilege speech had to do with dangerous drugs also.
Exactly,
so parang
yes.
going back full circle. Ano ba nangyari doon?
Kasi I was vice mayor for 4 years. Hirap na hirap kami.
Of Quezon City.
City. During that time, I was head of the Quezon City Anti-Drug Abuse Council. And I was having difficulty putting behind bars those drug pushers. Shabu during that time was a regulated drug. Until 1992, until I became a senator. So, in 1992, the reason I ran for the Senate, I said, was because I wanted to upgrade the Dangerous Drugs Act of 1972, which we did. It became Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002 and included all the other dangerous drugs. I also was pushing for the creation of a drug enforcement agency in that privileged speech of mine. So sabi ko nga, kasi pag tumayo ka, kailangan panindigan mo yung pinagsasasabi mo. Kung hindi mo kaya panindigan yung pinagsasabi mo, huwag kang tumayo. Kaya natuwa ako kay Pacquiao, kay Manny. So nag-interpellate ako sa kanya at ako naman, yung akin namang interpellation sa kanya patulong. Hindi pabara or paipit. Patulong yun. Kaya gusto ko lang, sabi ko, I wanted to pick his mind. Gusto mo ng death penalty. Anong klaseng death penalty ang naisip mo? Parang ganon. Yun yung nangyari nun.
Okay.
May
Parang
mga-
kilala ko po yung senator na hindi nagpa-interview. Sige, balik po tayo sa mga questions
maybe a couple
natin
of
from
questions,
social media. Ito question from Linda Rabe. Sustainable po ba ang 14th month pay ipatupad kahit madami pa din na walang trabaho? Hindi po ba na dapat iyon muna ang pansinan? You made headlines last time because of that bill.
Narinig ko na
That's
rin
your,
yan no? Pero ang
proposal.
problema kasi, sabi nga nung iba pag iniisip mo yung magkaibang, I think it's a different issue. Yung may mga trabaho muna pag-uusapan natin. Marami kasi tayong mga kababayan na pagdating ng June, hirap na hirap Yung 13-month pay, kaya ako naisipan yung 14-month pay. Yung 13-month pay, which is a presidential decree by President Marcos, is given during Christmas. Ang kailangan ng tulong ng mga kababayan natin during enrollment.
Yes.
Kaya June dapat. Yung gusto kong 14-month pay, magiging dapat
Parang mid-year.
Mid-year na para makatulong sa enrollment tuition fee ng mga kababayan natin. Education is one of the most important
For Filipinos.
for the Philippines. So ganun yun. Ngayon, doon sa ba't hindi raw asikasuhin na lang yung pag-create ng trabaho. Bigyan niyo ako ng batas na magagawa namin para gawin yun. Trabaho ng executive department yun perhaps siguro makakatulong kami kung babaguhin natin ang konstitusyon, amendahan natin, luwagan natin ang economic provisions para mas maraming investment, mas maraming tumaya dito, mas maraming makikreate na trabaho. Pero walang kinalaman yung pag-create ng trabaho doon sa 14-month pay na dapat natin ibigay sapagkat karamihan ng malalaking kumpanya ngayon nagbibigay na ng 14-month pay. Doon nga sa kumpanya namin hanggang 15, 16-month pay nagbibigay. Pero marami tayong mga kababayan na hindi nakakatikim ng 13th or 14th month pay. Kaya dapat, yung may kaya naman, dapat ibigay nila. Now, hindi ito anti-employers. Because in the bill that I proposed, or that I'm proposing, nilagay ko yung exceptions ng presidential decree na original, which is pag hindi mo kaya, hindi ka kailangan magbigay. May BIR naman para humingi ka ng petition. Ganon din yung sistema ron.
Okay.
File ka ng petition, hindi ko kaya, nalulugi ko Ba't ako magbibigay ng 14 month? Good. Hindi mo pala kaya di ba? Pero yung may kaya naman, ibigay naman natin, kawawa naman yung mga kababayan natin. Siguro yung naiisip nila sa creation of jobs, akala nila pwede namin basta gawin yun. Hindi namin basta pwedeng gawin yun nasa executive department, mas kaya nilang gawin kaagad yun.
Yeah, we're running out of time. We have about 7 minutes left. But one more question from social.
One last question from social. From Mark Ribe. What do you think of your critics on social media? How do you defend yourselves? I'm sure marami namang personalities in politics have a lot of critics. But I guess it's very different now that we have social media.
Oo nga, pero at nung una, I was somehow medyo na-apekta ako Gusto ko nga dapat sinasagot niya kasi mali ang context nung iba Pero lately, naisip ko, ay mali ang iba talaga. Hindi na ako nag-uuri kasi alam ko na mali yung thinking o mali yung mga iniisip. Kaya yung tanong nila talagang hindi maganda sapagkat they don't really know the context of what they're asking. You know, like there was a time that they were asking about Pepsi Paloma, mga ganon. Ano kinalaman ko ron? hindi ata nila alam So they probably were not born in 1982. That's why. So all they have to do is look up the journals of what happened. And it was Pepsi Paloma who said that there was no rape. It was only a gimmick of Rey de la Cruz. Malinaw yun Pero everybody brings it up every now and then. And the questions is parang nakikita ko na hindi nila alam ang istorya kaya ganun ang tanong nila.
So we can actually we can do a story about your what you just said. Kasi nga
I even have clippings of the newspaper
at the time,
tabloids during the time tabloids.
the controversial Rey de la Cruz
Yeah.
Senator, when you were interpellated, balik po tayo 1992 kasi nung napag-usapan natin ito bagong yung programa, tuwang-tuwa ako doon, imagine ko some of the big names in the history of the Philippine Senate, you were already a colleague of, no?
Oo.
Arturo Tolentino, Neftali
Gonzalez,
Gonzalez, Ernesto Maceda. What was it like?
Wigberto Tanyada,
Alberto Romulo,
Blas Ople,
Senator Sica Blas,
Boy Herrera,
Oo.
Sani Alvarez,
Mhm.
Orly Vergado, ang dami. They were 22 who interpolated me. It was only Gloria Macapagal who did not.
Oh.
To me,
Yun ang gusto namin malaman.
We wanted to
bakit?
know who was the one.
to me, if you ask me for a shining moment in the Senate, for me,
Mhm.
that is
That was
my
it.
shining moment. It was my baptism of fire,
Mhm.
but I think I carried myself well. I was able to answer all there were some researchers nga that they were looking at the journal. Sabi ko,
The
good,
archives.
bring it out. Para makita nila yung mga questions at yung mga sagot ko.
How long did it last, the whole interpellation?
Mga more than 5 hours.
Wow.
Oo. So Gloria Macapagal was the only one who did not interpellate me. So the following day, even Neftali, who was
Senate President.
he went down,
Mhm.
gave the floor to Butchakino,
Mhm.
gave the gavel to
Oo.
Butchakino, went down and asked me about
Mhm.
my thinking about the sense of the illegal drugs and things like that. So the media asked Gloria Macapagal the following day why she did not interpellate. She was the only one who did not interpellate. The number one senator. I was number one
That's
senator
right,
in
yes.
1992. Tapos, showbiz pa. Kaya sabi siguro, sarap bugbugin ito. Yun, siguro iniisip ng iba eh. So,
Anong sabi ni
Gloria Macapagal, her answer, I distinctly remember, was, you do not interpellate someone who is an expert in his field.
So talagang shining moment,
Oo,
something to remember.
I think it was my most shining moment in the Senate.
If I remember correctly, Gloria was number 13,
Oo.
and then in 95 was number
Number
1
one, yes,
when she ran again.
Dami nakakatuwang tanong noon. Sila Joelina, sila Boy Herrera.
But why did it take 10 years for the dangerous drugs bill to become law?
We could not do it piecemeal. We could not do it piecemeal. It was really difficult. The 1972 Dangerous Drugs Act was outdated.
Mhm.
So it was almost a complete overhaul.
Okay.
And then the creation of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency and the upgrading of the Dangerous Drugs Board really it was grueling. It was grueling. I'll give credit where credit is due. Senator Bobby Barbers and Senator Juan Ponce Enrile helped me.
Okay.
Oo. But also, of course, meron kami hindi kami pinagkapagkasunduan. But again, you have to use the art of compromise in the Senate. So may tatanggapin kang suggestion nila, meron hindi. Like for example, in the case of Senator Nene Pimentel,
Mhm.
meron siya mga input dyan sa Dangerous Drugs Act.
Mhm.
Marami actually. Pero meron siyang masyadong daming safeguards. Alam niya ito eh. Maraming safeguards to sa Section 21. Kaya medyo, kasi natatakot siya sa planting of evidence.
Yes.
So, ako naman, tingin ko, hindi masyadong kailangan, pero si Nene ang nagpo-propose eh. So, I accepted it.
Okay. So that's why it took 10 years.
Yeah.
Huh? That's why it took 10 years. One last question for me, and then maybe one last question from Tain.
You have 2 minutes left.
Senator, as majority leader, you actually run the Senate on a day-to-day basis. No?
Yes.
Because of the Committee on Rules and all that. Napag-usapan natin mga high-profile issues and proposed legislation and the committee hearings. Pero what are you excited about? A measure that one of your colleagues has proposed na hindi pa namin masyadong napapansin. Meron ka bang naiisip?
Now?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Because of the hundreds of bills na dami, pero I don't know, perhaps in my case, perhaps yung anti-drug penal institution.
Ano po yun?
If we do not pass the death penalty, I have an alternative.
Okay.
The alternative is to segregate segregate the high-level drug
And-
cases,
Right, this is
and
the
all
island
drug cases,
prisons.
remove them, and place it at a different prison.
Like an Alcatraz, parang
Correct.
ganun.
No signal, no cell site,
Hindi
no
makapagpuslit
nothing,
ng
no
drugs.
communication. Oo, at saka super higpit ka.
Yeah.
Hindi nangyari sa
Maximum.
National Believe It Country Club. Spa and Country Club. Oo, may recording studio pa yung Drug Lord. Ano?
Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for another question. It's 9 p.m.
Oo, ang bilis ng oras ha.
Yes, ang dami pa sanang gustong tanong and iba't ibang
Yeah.
issue pa, but at least we were able to discuss the meat of the hot topics right now.
Thank you very much.
So thank you to our multiple audiences on TV, radio, Facebook, and YouTube, and other INQUIRER.net social media accounts. Who's next on the hot seat? Find out through our social media accounts. On Twitter, follow jneri_newsstand and Sabilio INQ, as well as the accounts of INQUIRER.net on Facebook and Twitter.
All right, and of course, we would like to thank our guest of honor, Senate Majority Leader Tito Sotto. Thank you very much. Very enlightening. Sana we can continue this some other time.
One of these days, baka pag meron kaming importante.
Yes, after we invite Majority Leader Rudy Fariñas.
Yes, oh, sure. So, thank you very much. I am one of your fans sa Inquirer.
Salamat po.
Thank you very
Salamat.
much, John,
So,
for this opportunity, Christine. Thank you.
so this has been INQ&A. Thank you and good night.